today is going to be active hips for mobility, pancakes, inverts, leg hangs, right? All for pull, but you can also use it off the pole. It's really just for whatever you're wanting to use it for. So with that, I don't want you to force anything in class today. Our goal is not going to be pushing, but our goal is going to be creating space. So you aren't going to be pushing into pain, into tension. We don't want our knees to hurt. We don't want our hips in pain. We want to feel like it's a nice, good stretch. Okay, so if you, I don't know where you're at in your pancake right now, but you don't have to have that for this class. You can be working towards it. You can be absolutely nowhere near it. It doesn't really matter where you are, but where are you at? What are your goals for class today? Passive, like, so you're kind of wiggly, but you're not strong within the wiggle. Super common, and honestly, that used to be me before I got my yoga certification. I definitely just did the bendy pieces. Who wants to do active stuff? It's not as fun, but it is really good for us, and once we start getting in the habit, it's easy to keep going with it. So this class is going to be built, and all of my classes are built with strength, stability, and then flexibility at the end, because if we work on the strength and we work on the stability, by the end, when we try and get to that end pose, you are going to have the range of motion a lot further than you normally would, because we got those active stretches, we got those muscles warm. So with that, we're gonna start. You can start seated if you have a block. You don't have to have one. You can start kneeling, you can start crisscross, wherever is comfy for you. I like crisscross with a block myself, but that's just me. And we're just gonna start off with a couple rounds of breath. We're gonna go through a few rounds of box breathing to start. So it'll be a 4-count inhale, a 4-count hold, a 4-count exhale, and a 4-count hold. And we'll do that 3 times. And while we're doing that, I just want you to think about your intentions for class today. Think about what our goals are gonna be, what we're working towards, and that we're not really pushing for it, we're not forcing into it, but we're just taking the time to appreciate we're actively working on it. As long as we're working on it, we don't have to push, because we're gonna reach the goal, right? So whenever you're ready, if you wanna place your hands on your abdomen, you can have your thumbs facing up towards the ribs and the pinkies facing towards the lower abdomen. We're gonna take a deep breath in and hold. Exhale, hold. Again, inhaling, hold, and exhale, hold. Last one, inhale, hold, and exhale, hold. Allowing your breath to come back to its natural breathing pattern. Taking a big breath in and deep sighing it out. And coming in. Noticing how that feels whenever you're going through those box breathing. If it feels like a challenge, if it feels easy for you, if you're able to send that breath farther into the rib cage, deeper down into the body rather than just through the chest. And from there, we're gonna take our right hand overhead towards the left ear. It doesn't have to touch it. I'm really just on the left side of my head. We're gonna tilt over right ear towards the right shoulder. Trying to drop the shoulder low. It doesn't have to be hiking up towards it. We're just letting the ear lean towards it. And then you can either leave your left arm where it is, or you can extend it out to the side with your thumb facing up towards the sky. Just allowing your shoulder to open a little bit further. Not trying to rush through the movements, but appreciating that you gave this time to yourself to allow the expanding, the strengthening, a little bit of stabilizing. Releasing the right hand down. We're going to do that again on the other side, this time taking the left hand towards the right side. And we'll drop the left ear towards the left shoulder. Maybe your right hand stays where it is, or it extends out to the side. Maybe your thumb faces up. If you do extend it, noticing how that feels, if you can tell a difference in the shoulder opening or not. If we're feeling that down the scalenes, or maybe in the collarbones, maybe you feel it in the tip of the shoulder. And then we're going to take the left hand and walk the fingers to the back of the head, tilting the chin down. You're going to gaze down towards the floor between the armpit. Just taking deep breaths here, noticing how that feels down the back in the rhomboids and the traps. And then you can release that hand, having the chin stay tucked, swing to the opposite side. We're going to bring the right hand at the back of the head to allow you to gaze towards the floor, opening to the rhomboids on the other side. Noticing if one neck stretch feels a little deeper than the other, or if you have any tension here that maybe you didn't notice before. Releasing the hand down, coming back to neutral. And then we're going to send the right arm forward, extending it out in front. We'll wrap the fingers with the opposite hand. And something I want you to check that a lot of girls do is they hyperextend through that elbow. And I want you to keep it neutral so it's nice and bendable. And if you were hyperextending before, you should feel a shift in your shoulder where it feels a little more stable, a little more controlled. And just noticing you're not locking that arm, it can still bend. We're stretching through the wrist, through the palm. You might feel it all the way into the shoulder if you were previously hyperextending. And just noticing that range pattern. If it feels funny to keep it in this pattern, you might often hyperextend, which is super normal if your range of motion in your shoulders is just a little short. We overcompensate with the elbows and wrists. And then we'll point the fingers towards the floor and pull them back towards us. Keeping the elbow nice and neutral, stretching through the top of the hand, through the forearm, up into the top of the arm and the shoulder. And shaking out the wrist like there's water on it. Maybe you give it a circle or two. And then we'll do the same with the other side, extending the left arm out. Again, checking if you're hyperextending and if you are, trying to neutralize through the elbow. Pulling through the hand, across the palm. And I want to know, were you hyperextending previously or were you keeping it neutral? Which means our range of motion in our shoulders needs work and we just don't know it. Crazy, right? Yeah, that hyperextension, it's rotating your shoulder a little bit incorrectly. So you want to practice neutralizing. You can send your fingers to the floor and pull them back. You want to practice neutralizing through the elbow, through the wrist. And you doing this stretch before your Aishas, if you haven't done this wrist flossing stretch before, doing this before is a great check-in because you can feel it in the elbow, you can feel it in the shoulder, feel it in the palm when you're holding tension there. So you can kind of check in before you go into it just to like notice if you were hyperextending. You can release that hand, shake it out. That's why I really like my wrist and rotator cuff class. It really shows where our like imbalances are. We're gonna come to our knees and to our wrists, stacking the wrists with the hips and the wrists with the shoulders and the knees with the hips. We're gonna go through cat-cow, dropping the belly low, gazing up. And same here, try and neutralize through your elbows because you might have been hyperextending in your cat-cow too, and my shoulders pop as I correct it for myself. Tilting up, tucking the chin. And you can move through right here, or you can even start adding some rocks forwards and backwards as you go. Maybe you bend in the elbows. You don't have to keep the elbows perfectly straight if you're adding more rotation. That's more just if you're in the neutral cat-cow, but you can still kind of feel where your shoulders should sit. The neutral tabletop. We're gonna go into some hip cars. So from your tabletop, I want you to plant through the left leg, and I just want you to lift the right hip up slightly so your knee's hovering. You're gonna pull the knee up towards the elbow, lifting it up like a hydrant, circling it all the way around to a donkey kick, and pulling it back through, just making a full circle, trying to make your rotation as big as it feels comfortable. And as you do this, make sure your elbow is nice and neutral and your shoulder is in a nice, good location. And if you've gone a few circles one direction, you can go back the other way, sending it back to a donkey kick, all the way around to a hydrant, trying to reach for the elbow and pulling it back. Noticing how this rotation feels if you haven't done it before, or if you haven't done it as frequently. And whenever you're ready, you can place the leg down. Maybe you extend that left leg back and give it a wiggle. Just shaking out at the heel. Just relaxing a little through the hip. And we're gonna repeat on the other side. I'm gonna turn around so you can see me better. But this time, we'll lift the left hip up gently and then pull it up towards the elbow, all the way up, around, and back. My hip popped in this. Definitely gives you some nice rotation. How does this feel for you? Good? Yeah. Good. Good. So you probably were overcompensating with your chest. And then whenever you're ready, you can go back the opposite way, sending the leg up. Isn't it crazy how you can notice a difference in your shoulders in a leg class? And that... And that's why all my classes start with like neck and wrist openers just to warm up, because everything is wrist heavy. You can bring the leg back down. Maybe you bring the feet together and the knees wide and sink down for just a brief child's pose. And on your inhale, we'll pull back up. This time, try and plop down onto your butt from there, using your hands as a little bit of support. Beautiful, look at you go. It's like kind of hard, but kind of fun. So now that our legs are nice and split, I'm gonna pull these up so you can see my legs a little bit more. But we're gonna take our hands to the right leg, one side on the back, one side on the front. We're gonna go through a few leg lifts. If you want, you can bring your legs closer together so that it's a little easier, or you can try and challenge yourself more and keep them farther apart, wherever feels best for you. But you're gonna lift that right leg up. And we'll just go through a couple pulses to start with, checking in with how you feel with it. And if that feels okay, maybe you hold. 3, 2, 1, bring it down. And again, 3, 2, 1, bring it down. Or maybe you make a big circle and then circle the other way, big as you can, both directions. Horribly hard. All right, bring the leg down. Maybe you come to a little forward fold and back up. You don't need to touch the floor, just a little stretch. We're gonna go into the other side. So do you see how that activation really opens up that hip, really engages it? So that's really gonna help wake our hips up so that we can come into a deeper range. You said layers are coming off and getting warm. Perfect, love to see it. We're almost done. So we're gonna place the hands on the other side, lifting that leg up. Maybe you start with just a couple pulses, allowing the heel to touch down. And you can stay here if that feels best, or you can try and lift up. 3, 2, 1, bring it down. Again, 3, 2, 1, bring it down. You can keep doing that, or you can try and make big circles one way and then the other. Ooh, this side's harder. Noticing if one side feels more of a challenge, not judging, but just taking a notice. Ooh, last one. Circle both ways. Ooh, bring it down. Inhale forward and come back up. Notice. And then this time we're gonna inhale up, tilt the pelvis gently to the right, hinge over. We'll only stay a moment, and then your fingertips are gonna come to the mat, and we're gonna tiptoe across to the other side, pointing the toes, letting them come down forward. And then you're gonna tiptoe again. Each tiptoe, I want you to move nice and slow. We're not rushing, but each one you can come lower to the ground, as long as it feels good. Again, we're creating space. We're not forcing into it. So sometimes I'll just play like this with my hands on the floor, not even fully going to both sides, but just playing where my hips meet, or I'll play on one side if one hip feels tighter than the other. Just adding a little extra movement into my stretch because we've activated and we've strengthened. So we have that end range wiggle, right? Where we'd feel more locked. You wouldn't want to wiggle as much if you skip that activation. And I really like playing right here. Like in my notes, I just call this pancake play, where we're not in the full pancake, but we're not making our knees hurt because we're getting nice and wiggly, right? Because a lot of classes, you'll just sit in the pancake and then my legs hurt. All right, so now if you feel like nice and loose, we're just gonna do 3 folds coming to our pancake. We're not gonna go crazy. We're gonna inhale up, pointing the toes, letting the hips tilt, and tilting all the way to the floor. Maybe your chest comes to the mat. Maybe the forehead comes down. Maybe your belly can touch the floor. Mine can't yet, but we're almost there. Maybe your rib cage is there. Maybe your elbows are on the ground. Not judging one way or another, but just noticing, seeing if you can get any extra wiggle in the toes. And then we'll inhale back up, engaging to the core as you lift. When I lift, I almost like to bring my hands to my back body as I lift, because it really makes me like engage my back. Sometimes when you touch your body with it, it'll help remind your body to activate this. Again, we'll inhale up, hinging forward. Maybe you get the chest to the mat, maybe the head, maybe the arms. Maybe you reach the hands to the sides like a T. Noticing how far your armpits are to the ground, or your elbows when they're extended. Coming back up. How do your knees feel? Do you want to do one more, or we want to stop? So I want you to bring your legs all the way together. Bringing your hands up, just checking in from the ankles, inside of the leg, to the knees, to the calves. And then I want you to take the left leg and pull it around towards the right hip, and then the right leg on top. Coming to cow face pose. I forgot I scooted out of the camera so you could see my foot. Chilling here. Maybe our arms come out to a T, and we can come to eagle arms, bringing the left arm underneath and the right arm on top. Noticing if your hand reaches for the wrist, for the palm, for the forearm, maybe just to the air, depending on how tight your shoulders are. And on your next breath, you can release the hands. We're going to take them to the back body, coming back up to a wide-legged fold. Continue twisting around, and it'll bring you to cow face on the other side. You said that works. That's okay. It's like a fun little transition, but it's a little tricky at first. So hanging out here, you can bring your arms back to a T. Maybe the right arm comes underneath this time with the left arm on top. Noticing if you can move further into one range over the other. Noticing how the hips feel. How are your legs feeling? Nice and good? No. Love it. Okay, good. Just what I want to hear. No overstretching, just a nice amount of what you need. All right, we're gonna come to our butts. You can bring your hands underneath the knees and gently roll onto your back. Just taking a couple rolls, noticing how it feels on the hips. And then bringing your legs up to the sky, the center, sending them down straight onto the mat. You can bring your arms to your sides, pulling your shoulders away from the ears. Taking a deep breath in. And exhale, sighing it out. Maybe the eyes start to flutter closed as we come into Savasana to close class. Relaxing through the forehead and unkneading the eyebrows. Allowing the jaw to go slack. And with your next breath, inhaling in new energy up to the face. And exhaling any tension you might be holding there out to the fingertips. Just doing a little check-in as we close class. Allowing the elbows to relax into the mat along with the wrists. Checking in with the forearms, fingertips, palms of the hands. Inhaling new energy down the arms. And exhaling any tension you have left there out through the fingers. Breathing into the back of the rib cage, taking a deep breath in. Noticing how the shoulders feel, the spine and the back body against the mat as you exhale. Breathing energy into the rib cage and into the lower hips. Allowing the hips to sink into the mat. With every breath, exhaling out old tension and breathing in new energy. Checking in with the thighs and the hamstrings, allowing them to fully relax. Breathing in and taking a deep sigh out. Checking in with the ankles, the heels, the soles of the feet, and the toes. Breathing in new energy down the legs, up the legs, into the hips, down to the toes. Checking anywhere that might be holding tension and sending that new energy to it. And with each exhale, just allowing that energy to leave the body, through the toes, through the fingers, wherever it needs to leave from, allowing it out. But check in with how you're feeling at the end of class compared to the beginning, thinking back to the intentions that you set for yourself, whether it just be giving yourself a little bit of time in your day to work on something you enjoy, to give yourself time to decompress if you're having to do holidays tomorrow with family, or maybe to reach your new goals, your new tricks, adding some more stability, activation, or mobility to your routine. There's no wrong answer, but thinking back to it and appreciating that you gave yourself this time, that you were able to do what your body asked for, and that you listened to its needs, creating the space that's going to carry on through this next week, giving you some new energy for your week ahead. With your next breath, maybe you start to wiggle through the toes, wiggle through the fingers, just starting to wake up the body. Maybe the toes start to move with the heels and the feet. Or maybe your eyes start to flutter open, gently gazing up to the sky or the ceiling. And with your next breath, you can inhale that left arm overhead. And on your exhale, you can gently bend the knees and come to the right side. Coming to your side body, just taking a nice breath before we come up to seated. And whenever you're ready, you can come up to meet me. And I hope you enjoyed today's class. I hope you're feeling so good. Yeah, I'm so glad that you came.